advisories are often used to warn Americans about truly dangerous places around the world. For instance, cartel violence and human trafficking led the U.S. to issue do not travel warnings on several states in Mexico. The same for Afghanistan over attacks on U.S. citizens after the Taliban's takeover. And now one Florida civil rights group believes the Sunshine State needs a warning too. LGBTQ rights group Equality Florida announcing, quote, today Equality Florida took the extraordinary step of issuing a travel advisory warning of the risk posed to the health, safety, and freedom of those considering short or long-term travel or relocation to the state. The move comes in response to a wave of safety inquiries Equality Florida has received following the passage of laws that are hostile to the LGBTQ community, restrict access to reproductive health care, repeal gun safety laws, foment racial prejudice, and attack public education by banning books and censoring curriculum. Kaylee, hyperbole.
Yeah.
And misguided, and what say you?
Yeah, they're worried about safety and freedom. Well, let's talk a little bit about Florida, my home state, where you have the largest net in migration from other states, #1 tourist destination in the country, and when it comes to safety, lowest crime rate in 50 years. Compare that to Chicago, to New York. Murders have gone down 14.2%, double digits, #1 for law enforcement recruitment. You're worried about safety? You're worried about freedom? You know what takes away safety and freedom? When you can't walk down the streets of Chicago, when you can't go in the subway in New York, when you worry if you act in lawful self-defense, if a rogue Soros-funded DA like Alvin Bragg is going to put you in Rikers, as he has done so far. This is a joke. It's a stunt. It's because Governor DeSantis has transformed the state. It's the equivalent of getting trounced and shut out in a football game and then throwing a punch and calling bogus names to the other team on your way to the losing locker room.
Pete, this follows the Florida Immigrant Coalition issued a similar warning on the heels of the NAACP saying, don't go to Florida.
These are all political stunts. It's a total joke. Have I missed something? It's been a few months since I've walked in West Palm Beach, maybe a few more months since I've walked in Miami, a couple years since I've been down to Key West, Jacksonville. Last time I checked, Florida's very welcoming.
Yep.
Welcoming to many different people of many different communities. See, this is about ultimately politics and trans rights. See, what Governor DeSantis doesn't want is genital mutilation of kids, facilitated through schools. And he's willing to legislate that. That's no threat to any adult that wants to make any other life choice they want. So this is all about trying to make DeSantis look bad, like he's a threat, playing into a narrative, and we should dismiss it as a joke.
I just think of all the LGBTQ businesses and all the individuals who live across Florida. It has one of the highest concentrations of LGBTQ businesses in the nation, and they're essentially telling other LGBTQ individuals and families, don't go and patronize these businesses. That makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, that's page 1 of the playbook of the woke left, which is, I know better than you. Listen to me, I know better than your needs, than what your family is doing right now. This is what should happen. It strikes me too, you know, the whole extraordinary measures. It's just sending an email. What are you doing? Sending a letter? Oh, right. The flood of inquiries we had. Oh, did everyone in the office just talk about it for a second? And what worries me is the amplification. So what's going to, although I shouldn't be worried actually because it's not going to matter in the long run, but what we're going to see, for example, then will be, you know, anti-campaign ads, for example, toward the governor and potentially eventual presidential contender, where it's like, he was the subject of multiple travel advisories and multiple groups issued. Right. You know, it's all about the nugget. It's all about the soundbite. It's all about the headline, whereas we know that was all based on absolute nonsense. And all it took was one person with the keyboard to strike something out and feel really good about themselves. And it reminds me of, you know, when you're in class or maybe at a work training in our prior places of employment, where let's say the speaker is like, any questions? And then you just go down a rabbit hole of nonsense. The first couple actually are thoughtful, and everything after that is a piling on, an absolute incendiary, atrocious, you know, you're half asleep and someone's like, but then what if this? What if this? That is the scenario that these people who are living in fantasy land have created, and they're dabbling in politics. There's no place for them there.
Well, let me pile on what you're saying here. I just have to weigh in. This morning, before 6 a.m., I'm coming in for our 6 a.m. show on FBN, don't have car service, so I have to come into my car and park and walk across Times Square. You want to see something that's not safe? You want to feel under threat? Walk through New York City before the sun comes up. That's my instruction to you.
Wow.
Kaylee, really quickly, if these groups and individuals are so afraid of Ron DeSantis, why would they tell people to leave Florida, making it a deep, deep, deep red state, particularly on the national level? That would ensure, well, it would ensure it would help certainly in a presidential election for whomever the nominee is for the Republican Party.
They know Florida's long lost when under DeSantis' leadership, they've gained 750,000 Republicans in voter registration. So unfortunately for them, I don't know if there are any blue people to leave Florida. I think they've all turned red.